we talked about permissions, right? And what access that gives you to particular files and directories, but also at a user level, right? Not every user is going to have the same privileges out of the box. And this is where we're going to talk about the sudo versus su command. So sudo will allow you to run a command with super user privileges, and normally it's used to run that single command, right? And then you remain as your user level as your normal access. And the su command, or su, will switch user, actually elevate you completely to that root or that super user. Now that would be necessary when you're going to be running a lot of admin level tasks or admin level commands, and you're going to remain as that user. But it's generally not recommended to do so when you're just going to run one or two commands, as you're risking that user, that root level user, which has unlimited access. So that's generally not recommended. So let's go over what these commands do in a couple of examples. So to demonstrate this example, we're going to look at a file that is owned by root. Let's go ahead and do an ls/lh etc hosts. And as you can see, this file is owned by root, which means only that super user is going to be able to write to it. So let's just go ahead and show this vi etc hosts. Now I'm still as my user, as my normal Vagrant user. So let's see what we do here. Just going to attempt to write something here. And as you can see, I get this warning down here. Warning, changing a read-only file. And let's see if I can do something here. This is a comment. For testing purposes. Let's go ahead and escape :WQ to write quit or save the file. And sure enough, I get that read-only option is set, right? So it's not allowing me to do anything here because I am not the super user, I'm not root. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here, the queue, and we could look at it, and we could see those. We look at it again, and we see those changes were not made. So now let's go ahead and run it with sudo. And forgetting the vi here. Let's go ahead and run that. Now we should be able to do it. So running I for insert, and just gonna put this is a comment for testing purposes. :WQ. And we'll go ahead and check it. And we did make those changes now that we are the super user. So that's definitely something that we see there, as we could see how this command could be beneficial for us. Now, the difference between running sudo vi, right, and then doing something like this, sudo -i. Now we are the root user, right? And we could see that with this £. Just as a general rule of thumb that to remember by, with anytime you have a command prompt with a £, you are root user. And when you see something like a $, you are at your user level. So that's how you can distinguish those two. Another way is with your UID. So your user ID. So if I run this command called ID, I'll get UID = 0, which is root, right? That is the highest level of access you have in Linux. And as we mentioned earlier, it's generally not recommended to use unless you need it. following the principle of least privilege. And if we go back, exit, back as our vagrant user, let's go ahead and run ID there, we could see we are not UID 0, not the root user, we are a vagrant user. So these are general concepts that we want to know from a security perspective when we are administering our environment.